My name is Merle Hadley. I'm 68, retired, and living alone in a quiet lakeside town in Oregon. All morning, April rain had been tapping at the windows, soft, steady, and strangely intimate, the kind of rain Lakeview was famous for. I sat at my kitchen table, nursing a mug of Earl Grey, no sugar, just milk, the way I've always liked it. The tea was cold, but I didn't care. My eyes were on the window, following raindrops as they slid down the glass like slow dancers. There was a time when mornings like this calmed me. Now, they only deepened the silence, a heavy kind that pressed in, not comforted. I've been in this house more than 40 years, teaching math at Lakeview High for nearly all of them. I explained logic and numbers to thousands of students. Now the days are mine, but most are spent alone. Frank, my husband, died 10 years ago. We were planning a summer trip when a phone call made me a widow. Our only son, Grant, is 42. He lives nearby with his wife, Tabitha, and their kids, Octavia and Fletcher. I last saw them at Christmas. Even then, I felt like a guest in my own family. This Tuesday was like any other: groceries, maybe the library if the rain eased, but in the back of my mind, a thought kept tapping like the rain. My birthday was 3 days away, and I didn't know if anyone would remember. The phone rang as I was wiping down the counter. I almost ignored it. Robocalls were more common than real voices, but I picked up. Mrs. Hadley? A cheerful woman asked. This is Patricia from Lakeview Glamour Salon, calling to confirm your appointment for tomorrow at 10. I'm sorry, I said. You must have the wrong person. I didn't make an appointment. It's a wash and style, under your name. I almost corrected her, then paused. Maybe a mistake. Maybe my neighbor Dorothy playing fairy godmother again. Or maybe I just needed something new, even by accident. You know what? I'll be there. Upstairs, in the back of my closet, I found the sky blue dress Frank gave me for our last anniversary. To match your eyes, he'd said. I held it up to the mirror. The face looking back had more lines, more gray, a touch of slouch, but the eyes were still the same. Frank would have noticed. He always noticed. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't in a long time. I called Grant. He answered on the third ring. Hey, Mom, everything okay? Already cautious, like bracing for guilt. I just wanted to remind you it's my birthday Friday. I hoped you, Tabitha, and the kids might come by. A pause, muffled murmurs. Friday's tough. Tabs has a launch at work. Octavia's got rehearsal. Fletcher's swim. Maybe the weekend. It's fine, I said quickly, but my voice cracked. More murmurs. You know what? We can swing by for a couple hours Friday, 2 o'clock. My breath caught. That would be wonderful. Hope bloomed, small, fragile, but there. I spent the next 2 days preparing. I cleaned the house until it shone. At the salon, Patricia gave me a trim and a soft silver tone that made my gray shimmer. You look 10 years younger, she said. The dress still fit. I paired it with navy slacks and the silver necklace Frank gave me on our 20th anniversary. I cooked Grant's childhood favorite, eggplant lasagna, made a chocolate pecan cake from scratch, a fresh veggie salad for Octavia, and chocolate chip cookies for Fletcher. Friday arrived clear and bright after a week of rain. By 1:30, the table was set with spring flowers from the garden. At 2 o'clock sharp, a car pulled in. Grant gave me a quick, one-armed hug. Tabitha nodded politely, flawless in her gray pantsuit. Octavia stayed glued to her phone. Fletcher mumbled hello and wandered to the living room. It smells good, Grant said. Just lasagna, I replied. Your favorite. We said you didn't need to cook, Mom. I know, I wanted to. Small talk felt like walking uphill. At the table, things eased only slightly. Grant liked the lasagna. Fletcher took seconds without comment. Octavia said the salad was fine. Tabitha barely touched her plate. I asked Octavia about her school play. Juliet, she said. That's wonderful. I'd love to come. She glanced at her mother. We only have 4 tickets, Tabitha said smoothly. Her other grandmother's already using one. Oh, of course. I turned to Fletcher. Still playing soccer? Swimming now. That's great. Your grandpa was a swimmer, too. I'd love to see you compete. Next season, Grant said vaguely. I fetched the cake, but when I returned, Grant was standing. We can't stay long. Tabs has a meeting. Of course, I said. Tabitha reached into her bag. Here's your gift. She handed me a ribbon-tied box. Surprised, I opened it. Inside was nothing. They laughed. You're just like the box, Grant said. Empty inside. Perfect match, Tabitha added. Octavia's phone was up, filming my face. The box trembled in my hands. Something inside me cracked, clean and final. For a moment, I just stared at them, my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandchildren, faces I had once loved beyond measure, now contorted in laughter at my expense. The meal I had prepared with such care sat untouched. The home I had scrubbed spotless felt like a stage for their cruelty. Is this a joke? My voice was low. Oh, come on, Mom, Grant chuckled. Don't take it so seriously. It's just family humor, Tabitha added, her smile razor-thin. I pressed the lid back on the box. My hand shook, but my voice didn't. We have very different ideas of what family means. Grant opened his mouth, but I raised a hand. You should go, Tabitha's meeting, remember? They froze. They hadn't expected this. They were waiting for the tears, for me to beg, for the silence I'd always filled with forgiveness. But I didn't cry, I didn't plead, I walked them to the door without a word. Grant tried to take my hand. I pulled it away. We'll call you this weekend, he said, unsettled. Don't bother. I closed the door. The hallway fell into stillness. I slid down until my back pressed against the wood, the empty box in my lap. Empty, that was the word they'd chosen for me. That was all I meant to them. 40 years of teaching, building a home, raising a son, reduced to nothing in their eyes. And that was when sorrow calcified into resolve. I rose, knees aching, and cleared the table. By the time I finished, the kitchen was spotless again, as though the scene had never happened, but it had, and I would not forget. Upstairs, I opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out a card I hadn't touched in years. Robert Fisher, the attorney who handled Frank's estate. He answered on the third ring. Robert, this is Merle Hadley. A pause. Merle, of course, what can I do for you? I need to change my will, and there's one more thing, urgent. The next morning, we sat in his office going over every detail, my will, my assets, my options. Frank had left me far more than anyone knew, nearly $2 million in stocks, $500,000 in investments, and a prime lakeside property. I had kept that truth from Grant, hoping he'd build his own success. I'd imagined one day leaving it all to him and the kids, but they had shown me exactly who they were. I want it all to go to charity, I told Robert, the Teachers Foundation, the public library, the animal shelter, and a scholarship in Frank's name. And your son? Robert asked gently. He gets nothing. We added a no-contest clause. I passed a medical capacity evaluation to make it airtight. Then I listed the lakeside property. Within weeks, it sold for $1, $2 million, money already donated. That's when the last piece of my plan took shape. I called Dorothy. I'm inviting them for dinner. She raised an eyebrow. To reconcile? To give them one last show. We cooked for hours, turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, apple pie, every dish a memory from Grant's childhood. But this wasn't nostalgia, this was closure. At 6 sharp, they arrived dressed as if for a negotiation. They expected contrition. They were going to leave with truth. We ate. Small talk filled the air, brittle and polite. Finally, as dessert sat untouched, I stood. I invited you tonight to apologize, I said, but not for what you think. They leaned forward. I apologize for allowing your disrespect all these years, for letting your selfishness go unanswered. That empty box you gave me, it was perfect, not because of what was inside, but because of what it revealed. From the sideboard, I took a folder and set it on the table. This is my new will. You're not in it. Every cent is going to charity. The lakeside lot? Sold. The proceeds are already gone. Tabitha's smile collapsed. Grant sputtered. I'm moving to Santa Barbara, I said, starting fresh. They erupted, Grant shouting, Tabitha's voice sharp, Octavia's phone clattering to the table. Fletcher just stared. For the first time in years, I felt nothing but peace. 2 weeks later, I was gone. The moving truck came before dawn. I'd kept Frank's watch, a few books, the photo albums, and my favorite armchair. Everything else stayed behind, along with the part of me that had waited for them to love me back. Dorothy and I took the coast road south in her dusty blue sedan, windows cracked to let in the salt air. We stopped at little diners and weathered motels, laughing like teenagers running away. In a way, that's exactly what we were doing. Santa Barbara greeted us with sunlight and the smell of jasmine. My new home was a small, single-story cottage, pale yellow siding, white shutters, a front garden waiting to bloom, and the ocean only a 10-minute walk away. For the first time in years, I saw a house not as a place to keep, but as a blank canvas to fill. Dorothy settled 2 blocks down. Her sister Eleanor lived around the corner and showed up with champagne. To freedom, she said, clinking glasses. I unpacked slowly. Every item I placed had a reason to be there. It wasn't just moving in, it was planting roots. Within weeks, I joined the library's volunteer program, tutoring high schoolers in math. I found the gardening club, wandered weekend farmers markets, and even signed up for an art class, something I'd always said I'd get around to someday. One evening at Eleanor's barbecue, I met Gordon Parker, retired literature professor, widower, 72, kind eyes, quiet humor. He asked about my teaching years, said I looked like someone with stories worth telling. Before I knew it, we were walking beaches, drinking coffee on my patio, and talking about books, regret, and the strange courage that comes with age. I hadn't expected companionship again, but there he was. Back in Lakeview, Grant still called once or twice a month, short conversations, polite, no more questions about the will. Then one night, his voice softened. Are you happy there, Mom? I paused. Yes, Grant, I really am. This time, I think he believed me. Dorothy was right, sometimes your second chapter is the first one you write entirely for yourself. Almost a year passed. Spring returned, bringing roses to my garden, pale pink, planted with Gordon's help. My days were full of quiet joy, morning walks, library work, evenings with friends. Then one morning, a letter arrived, not an email, not a text, a letter, handwritten in looping script. The return address made my breath catch, Octavia Hadley. Dorothy, there for coffee, saw my hesitation. Open it, whatever it says, you can handle it. Inside. Dear Grandma. I don't know if you'll read this or throw it away, and I wouldn't blame you, but I need to say I'm sorry. I was awful to you, we all were. That birthday, the box, I can't think about it without shame. After you left, things changed. Mom and Dad fight all the time. Dad says he never wanted it to be like this. I found photos of you and Grandpa. You both looked happy. Dad looked softer. I don't know what happened to us. I'm starting college soon, psychology. I want to understand why people hurt those they love. I don't know if you can forgive me, but I hope someday we can talk again. Love. Octavia. I read it twice, then held it to my chest. It didn't erase the hurt, but it sparked something I thought I'd buried, a small, cautious hope. I didn't reply right away. I needed time, not to forgive yet, but to understand what forgiveness would mean now. A week later, I sat on my patio with tea, watching the wind move through the roses. Then I picked up a pen. Dear Octavia. Thank you for your letter. It meant more to me than you can imagine. I've never stopped loving you. People make mistakes. What matters is what they do after. I built a life here I'm proud of, quiet, peaceful, mine. You're welcome to visit when you're ready. We won't talk about the past right away. We'll walk the beach, eat pie, and start over, with love. Grandma Merle. I sealed it and walked to the post office. Some wounds never close perfectly, but they still heal. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge is peace.